Hello, everyone. My name is Lawrence. Um, I contemplated making this video for a while. I mean, I had previous YouTube channels and I had multiple videos, but since then, I deleted them all. But just for the one time, I want to upload this one video. Since it is Men's Mental Health Awareness Month, I've seen multiple videos on TikTok about it. I've seen some topics on it on Instagram. So I thought just a little bit, just for the one time, I put on making just one video about this, and then going about my way. I want to talk about me being raised by a pedophile. I want to talk about what led to her raising me, what happened during my stay with her, how it was affecting me at that moment, how it affected me afterwards, and where I am now as far as my healing. When I was about 10 years old, I was taken from my mom because of abuse, child abuse. I was going through physical abuse, mental abuse, verbal, and also sexual abuse. I was also molested by a cousin of mine when I was about 9, going on 10. It happened about April 2003. My birthday's May 26th, so I was about 9, he was 14. I was taken from my mom about, I want to say September. I was already 11, so I want to say August or September, because we had just freshly went back to school of 2004. Now this aunt, I don't want to call her by name because I don't want her to try to sue me for defamation, even though she know what she did is true. So we're gonna call her Gladys. This aunt of mine, Gladys, she she made sexual advances on me starting at the age of about 8 or 9. In her room, this aunt of mine, Gladys, she was a hoarder. So she always had a bunch of clothes, newspapers, old shoes, just piled up near her bathroom door. And next to that door was her chair she would sit in. And the bathroom door was unable to close because it was just pinned against the wall because of all the garbage, all the rubbish that had it pinned up against the wall, along with clothing in her chair. So very often I had to come out of the bathroom and dry off. So starting from the ages about 9, when I had to dry off in front of her, she would make comments about my body. And at times I'd be like, at this time I'm 9 and she's like in her early mid 40s. I would tell her then, like, can you please stop staring at me? Can you stop looking at me? Can you stop commenting on my body? And she like, boy, turn around. Anybody looking at you? Ain't nobody stun you. Ain't nobody worried about you. Dry off and get out my room. And then I would turn around and keep drawing off, and she'd make comments on my body. Ooh, your butt two-tone. You got a dimple in your butt. Your wife gonna like that. And I'm 9 years old. And this woman is clean in her 40s. As we got older, as I'm getting older, I noticed for a while it kind of stopped. But here and there, we're talking 5th grade, 6th grade, she started calling me handsome. And not in no, you handsome, nephew. No, like, you handsome. The intent was to be seductive. The intent was to seduce me. The intent was to be sexual and to turn me on. She would start calling me sexy, thick. And even then when she first started calling me sexy and thick, think of it, I was 11 years old. I thought nothing of it because I was a child. My frontal lobe was still developing. So I completely thought nothing of it. It wasn't until I was about the end of my 5th grade career, going into middle school, going into junior high school, my 6th grade year, where it started to kind of bother me. Because maybe I would make another video explain to you guys just how nasty and mean and crazy this woman was. She would do absurd things to get my attention. And one of the things that she would do, because I love to ignore her a lot, because even by 5th grade, going into 6th grade, she was just so annoying and so aggravating that I just got so tired of dealing with her already. And I'm just 11, 12 years old. But she would do things indirectly towards me to get on my nerves directly, if that makes any sense. For example, I'd be in the living room watching television, and she would come out of her room to aggravate me like she always did. And she would sit next to me in a different chair. It was the chair was here, I was in a glass table with a lamp and another chair. She would sit in this chair, and she would look at my pictures of me, my school pictures of me in the 5th grade. And mind you, at this time, I'm like 12, like 11, 12, and she's in her 40s. And she would look at my pictures. Look at him. He's so sexy. Look at his eyes. He's so thick. Look at him. She's in her 40s. I'm like 11, 12. And I'm also her blood relative. Going further up, okay, I really want to fast forward because I don't want this video to be too long. My aunt started acting towards me like she was my woman. Around the ages of 18, 19, we began to argue like we were a couple. Like she would, especially when I was happy and my happiness had nothing to do with her, she would invent an argument out of thin air just to ruin my happiness. Whenever I would bring my sister around, she would get jealous. And she would force me to call my sister's mom to come get her so she could have my attention again. Whenever I would leave my childhood home where my pedophile aunt was, and I would go to a different family member's house to spend the weekend, sometimes she would blow my phone or call, "What you doing? When you coming home?" Like she was my woman. I would never forget. I would never forget. She used to always touch on me, rub my chest, my arms. And I began to like show my discomfort, express my discomfort. And like, I don't appreciate you touching on me, feeling on me. It makes me feel disgusted. I don't like that. And she would get mad. She would get an attitude because even then I knew she felt rejected, but I didn't care because I'm your nephew. You're my aunt. You have no business touching and feeling on me. And one day I'll never forget. She said, "Oh, so I can't touch you, but them little girls at school can touch you." I'm like, "Yeah, because you're my aunt. You shouldn't want to touch my chest, my arms, my back. Because you know what you're doing. You are feeling on me. You're feeling on me." Because by this time I was in high school and I was on the wrestling team. And also because of this woman, I dealt with severe depression. So the best way I got rid of my depression besides God was to exercise. So I had a little body on me. I had little abs and back and, my little muscles on my arms. But she was finding me attractive, sexually attractive. She made it obvious that she wanted to be my woman. I never forget, this woman was so aggravating and so annoying that one day I just ignored her for 3 days because I didn't want to be by her. I got tired of her Flirting, that's another thing. She would flirt with me consistently because she told me when I was younger, I forgot what age, but she said, when I was younger, one thing the girls used to do to men to flirt was flutter their eyes, which is like do like that, which I know because I've had older women flirt with me before. And I know women who are like in their 50s, women who were born like in, I want to say the 70s, like Gen X, going back into baby boomers. A lot of old school women, they do flirt with their eyes a lot. Flutter their eyes, which is called batting the eyes. You know what I'm saying? They lower the tone of their voice. You know, a lot of old school women do that. So around the ages of like 15, going into 16, she started doing that to me. And it made me extremely uncomfortable. I remember I was about like 13 years old, 13, 14 years old. And she started blowing kisses at me. Like, and as I got older, I say about 17, I'm like, I would ask her to stop because I always felt disgusted. I always felt like it was bothering me. I always felt like that's not right. But around 17, I started asking her, can you stop? Can you stop blowing kisses at me? And she'll keep doing it out of spite. Because she'll sit next to me or she'll sit across from me and I see it at the corner of my eye, in my peripheral view, just. And I'm like, can you stop, please? And she'll keep doing it. You know what I'm saying? And that and how that made me feel was just complete disgust. I felt violated. I felt anger. I felt like I want to put my hands on her and kill her. And that's what started me to absurdly hate women. I don't hate women now, of course not. But at that time, I did. Because once again, I may make a second video as to explain to you guys what she put me through. Because I remember like 90% of everything she put me through. The verbal abuse, the mental abuse. This woman, I had known her for 3 days because she was just so annoying. And I just got so tired of her sexual advances. I just got so tired of her bothering me that one day I was feeding my turtle. And as I was feeding my turtle, I was getting ready to go to bed, turn in for the night for school the next day. And she walked behind me to go to the kitchen to make her food. And she kissed me on my back. She kissed me on my back right between my shoulder blades. And it was a passionate kiss at that. Because when she kissed me on my back, she breathed in, she did like that. I could feel the moisture of her lips. I could feel her nose, her forehead. I could feel the warmth of her face. And I turned around, and back then I was a teen. I was a coward. I didn't have a spine because I didn't grow up with the father. So I didn't know how to really regulate my emotions. So I was very effeminate in my behavior because I was being raised by my aunt and my grandmother. And before that, I was with my mom and my stepdad, but I was being heavily, heavily abused. So with what little courage I had, I turned around and I said, don't you ever do that again. And she turned around to her side like this. And she said, okay. Like that turned her on. She would come in my room. I'd be laying down on my little iPod Touch. And, you know, I'm watching YouTube and I'm listening to New Boys and, you know, You a Jerk, you know, just in my own world. And she'll come in my bed, feeling on me, my legs, my arms, my chest, my stomach. And I'm moving her hand. Like, can you please stop touching me? And she'll get mad. I'm just trying to show you love. I can't show you no love. I'm like, not the way you doing it. You're making me feel uncomfortable touching on me. And then doing that at the same time, you are flirting with me. And then she would get mad and get an attitude. And I would never forget. This is a bit personal, but I got to go here. One day I told her, I asked her, excuse me, I said, I was about like, I think I was in the sixth, seventh grade around there. So I was still a kid. We told him like 13, 14. I asked her, I said, yo, Titi, why when a woman get erected, does her breast get hard? And she looked at me in a seductive way and she said, well, why does when a man get hot and horny, does his thing get hard? And I said, I don't know. That's why I'm asking. I said, I just want to know. I don't know. I said, I just want to know, like when she get ready, her breasts get firm. I don't know. And she asked me again, she said, well, why when a man get horny, his thing get hard? And I said, I don't know. I said, forget it. I don't want to know. And then she would also watch softcore porn in front of me. Or she'll watch a movie and a sex scene will come on. She'll always, that's gonna be you and your wife. That's gonna be you and your wife. And then my grandmother, who was the mother of a church, would come in. She'll change it real quick to SpongeBob, Bonanza, BET, watching Madea. But then my grandma leaves, she turned it back. And there's plenty of times when I'm like, can you please stop telling me that? Can you please stop telling me that's gonna be me and my wife? I don't like that. You're making me feel extremely uncomfortable by keep telling me that's gonna be me and my wife. I don't like that. And from there, she'll begin to profusely question me about sex. Now, see, when I was younger, I didn't know any better. And I told her, I said, well, when I get with my wife, I'm going to do so-and-so. I'm going to touch her breasts. But when I first told her that, I was like 11 years old, 11, 12 years old. I didn't know what the heck I was talking about. And as a full grown, and mind you, up until I was nearly 13 years old, I was sleeping in the same bed as this woman. And mind you, we had another room ready, the front den. And I kept telling her for years I want to sleep in that room. But she kept denying it. And whenever I would bring it up, she'd get an attitude about it. So almost up until the age of 13, I was sleeping in the same room as her, in the same bed. And at night, she would pull me close to her sometimes. And I would like scoot back away. And she's like, why are you moving away from me? I'm like, I don't want to sleep close to you. You're my aunt. I do not want to sleep up under you. I don't want to feel your breath. I don't want to feel your breasts and all that. I don't want to feel the warmth of your body. I don't want to feel the air coming out your nose, hitting on my forehead. I'm like, I'm your nephew. I don't feel comfortable with that, man. Because even at that age, I started to feel extremely uncomfortable sleeping in the same bed as my aunt. Because even at age 12 and 13, I'm like, something not right. Why am I pushing 13 years old and I'm still sleeping in the same bed as my full grown 45, 46-year-old auntie? And then, I was one day, I know I'm all over the place, but I'm just telling you guys what I remember off the bat before I get off track. I was like 13, 14, and I was watching Madea. Madea Goes to Jail. And I was on the part of the movie where Madea just got out of jail and she was singing, Sonny just found out that his girl was cheating, that entire part. She just freshly got out of jail. And my aunt came in the living room where I was, because I already left out the bedroom for sleeping with her. And I was sleeping on the floor, because I'd rather be there on the floor than be in the bedroom with her. Cause I got tired of it, man. Like, she's weirdo. And mind you, I just remember she used to use the bathroom in front of me. Because remember, her bathroom door couldn't close. So sometimes I'd be up and she knew I was up. And she'll drop her panties. I seen her breasts. I seen everything, her plumbing all down there. And she wouldn't say a word. She wouldn't say turn. She wouldn't say, boy, lay down. Get out my room. While I was in the bathroom. Don't, She would plop up, pull her pants down. I seen all her stuff. And she wouldn't say a word. You know what I'm saying? It's just disgusting. But when I was like a kid coming to a teen, I didn't exactly know any better because I was behind because of the household I was in. And once again, I didn't have a father. I didn't have a real man in the home to teach me right from wrong. You know what I'm saying? So getting back to Medea, when I was laying on the floor watching Medea, she came in there and she laid across my waist, close to my penis. And I remember she started pinching, and playing with my left nipple and touching on me. And I just felt so disgusted, man. I felt so violated. She would sit on my lap. And before she would sit on my lap, she'd be like, oh, your wife is going to treat you like this. She going to do you like this and sit on my lap. And there were times where I tried to one time I tried to when she finna sit down on my lap and I did like this here to, push her back off of me. And she turned around and grabbed stop. I'm like, no, I don't want you on me, man. You my aunt. You like 48 years old. And I'm like 15. And you finna, I'm like 13, 14. You try to sit on my lap. What is you doing? And my grandmother was sitting right there watching with a smile on her face. But in my grandma's defense, she was already got Alzheimer's and dementia. So my grandma, she was present, but she wasn't present. So I give my grandma a pass. You understand what I'm saying? But my aunt, who was in her 40s and getting into her 50s, she knew better. She knew what she was doing, blowing kisses at me, sitting on my lap, touching, feeling on me, calling me sexy and thick. I got a big booty. They used to make me feel so disgusted that my own aunt would make comments about my own body, especially my butt. Yes, I have a big butt. I got my big booty from my mom, and plus through my father, I'm Dominican. Through my dad, and a lot of Latino men, especially from DR, got big booties. So yeah, when it come to my rump, I got some junk back there. But it used to make me feel so disgusting to the utmost that my aunt would comment, "Oh, you got a big booty, you got a girl butt, and you got it from your mama." I'm like, why? Even at that time, like, why are you looking at my butt, bro? And I'm your aunt. You're my aunt, and I'm your nephew. And whenever I would tell my aunt that, there's a girl at school I like, sometimes it wasn't because I was gay, bro. I was homosexual, but I decided because of my aunt and because I was molested, I wanted nothing to do with women. You know what I'm saying? When I was molested, I'm like, it made me sort of more like bisexual, bi-curious. But with my aunt being a pedophile and the other things that she put me through as far as being so mean and just so hateful and so spiteful towards me, it made me hate women. And it pushed me more towards men. You know what I'm saying? It's a lot more to it. But the sitting on me, blowing kisses at me, touching and feeling on me, getting jealous when I bring my sister around, getting jealous when I bring my cousins around. And whenever I brought my cousins around, she used to always embarrass me on purpose. There's a whole different story. Like, she's just a pedophile, a weirdo. And whenever she no longer had my attention, and my cousins had it, my mom had it, especially my sister had it, she would get OD jealous. Like whenever my mom and I would be at Lawrence Park Zoo back in Tampa, be together, and my mom and I would be talking about life, about school. My aunt would come over. What y'all talking about? What y'all talking about? And my mom would be like, none of your business. It's between my son and I. But my mom doesn't know to this day. But even after we would leave from seeing my mom, my aunt would be like, what y'all talking about? I know y'all talking about me. What y'all talking about? I'm like, none of your business. Between my mom and I. And she would still try to badge me, but until this day, I never told her not one thing my mom and I had spoken about, because my aunt was trying to turn me against my mom. My aunt and her mom, they were both actively trying to turn me against my mom. Telling me that my mom is stupid, she's dumb. My aunt said that my mom should have never been able to have kids. So my aunt, who's a pedophile, she was trying to isolate me, to get me alone, to make sure no one knew that she was trying to groom me to be her man. Because she made it very clear she wanted what was between my legs. I never forget. I don't know why I asked her this, but you know, once again, I was a teenager. I didn't know anybody because I was behind up here. I asked her. I said, Titi, I said, by age, I forgot how old I was. I said, how big should I be down there? And she looked at me, and you could see the spirit of lust in her eyes. And she said, well, by now you should be hanging out your boxes. I'm like, that's not what I asked. And in my mind, I'm like, why is she saying it like that? Like she's turned on by that question. And I'll never forget one day, I had just freshly taken a shower, and I was leaning over her, and she was on her phone texting or looking up something on the internet, yeah. And I forgot what I said, but she took this finger here and she dug it into my underpants, my underwear. And I backed up. Let me prove to you guys. I was leaning over like this, yeah. And I said something I can't quite remember, I forgot. And she took her finger and she did like this. And I backed up. And I'm like, yo, I'm like, no way. I'm like, bro, there's no freaking way my aunt tried to dig her finger into my boxes and feel my penis. Look, I've got to be dreaming. And how I felt and how I feel until this day, I feel totally violated. I forgive my aunt wholeheartedly, but I feel totally violated. I feel totally like disgusted by her actions the more I think about it. That I just sincerely can't believe that my own aunt found sexual interest in me. Like, it's so hard to believe. It's just so hard to believe sometimes. It took me years to finally forgive her. It took years for me to work through the pain. It took years for me to stop hating women and to learn to love myself. This woman has caused me a great disservice in my life because of her actions. But glory be to God for forgiveness. Glory be to God for grace and mercy. Because I forgive her, I love her. She's not in my life. I don't want her to be in my life. I don't want her even in the cyberspace to have anything to do with me. I just can't believe my own aunt did that. Sometimes I think about it. It's like, there's no way my aunt did that to me. Sometimes I have to really sit and think to myself, did that really happen? Did she really do that? The answer is yes. Like, it's just unbelievable. It's crazy that we live in a society that teaches that women do no wrong, that it's just men who are the animals, it's men who are the pedophiles and the predators, and there are women out there who are pedophiles and predators as well. And my aunt was one of them. And for the better half of 10 years, I've experienced it and I lived it. Men, we go through things too. But a lot of us just don't speak up because we know the stigma behind what's going to follow with that. That I should have enjoyed it. Even though she was my aunt, I should have enjoyed it. I should have let her. You should want a woman to have sex with you. I've told some people what I've been through and they laughed at me. Oh, the way it sounded was, it's not funny, but the way it sounded was funny. My own godmother told me that. I said, I've been through this. My aunt said, "I'm laughing. This how your wife's gonna treat you." She started laughing. Just the way it sounds. It's not funny, but the way it sounds is funny. And I'm just looking at her. I'm like, bro, I hate black people sometimes, especially black Americans. The freaking dumbest people on the face of the planet. That's what I was thinking. But I'm like, how would you feel if I was a woman? Yeah. And I told you that my uncle sat on my lap and did things to me. Would you laugh? Would you think it's funny? And this is why a lot of men, we don't speak up about what we go through because we get laughed at, not taking it seriously as our counterparts of women. But I just want to say to my fellas, just please be and stay encouraged. Don't be afraid to call out to God first and foremost, and to get help, professional help, seek deliverance, healing, and just know, mates, that you're not alone. You're not alone in this. Yeah, just know I love you all. And I would say you guys can reach out to me, but I really don't want to be reached out to, because I really don't do the video things anymore. I might leave the comment section open if you guys want to say something, you know. But otherwise, I just shared this story because I want you guys to know, especially the fellas, that you guys are not alone. And to keep your head up and to put God first. And yeah, and I love you all. Good day.